Hello, Glynn here, Monkey Design. I want to show you how to draw a kind of stone wall effect and how I usually do that. So what I'm going to do, this is ArtRage 5. I've got some brushes that I tend to use quite a bit, so let's do a little bit of work and hopefully you can see how that's progressing. So these are just some stone outlines. So it could be the edge of a well or something like that. Okay. And I'm only going to do this quite rough. So I'm going to add some bits of less detail, just to suggest they're slightly rougher than just the simple straight outline would suggest. Okay, so all of that ink work is drawn on one layer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some more layers here and move the ink work to the top, and then select a layer underneath where I'm going to add the colours of the bricks themselves. So I'm just going to use a blending marker to do that. Pick some stony looking colour and just fill those in quite rough. Now I could fill all these in with exactly the same colour, but I'm going to choose not to do that because I like to have variation in stonework. It's a bit more work, but the end result is something that's maybe more believable. What I could do, I could use the fill tool and just fill these in, but it won't fill behind the line. So if I switch the layer off, you can see that it's filled there, whereas if I use the fill tool, it will basically have white lines where the ink work was. These are the ways to simplify the process. You can select the ink work, so ink layer selected, select with magic wand, and that selects pretty much the whole outside. I could then invert that, and then that would basically give me, I'm just switching the colour off, I'll go to a different layer, with the outlines of the stone selected. I could just we're going to use the fill tool, opt for a that's basically exactly what I was trying to demonstrate earlier. So we just undo that, and the reason that it did what I didn't want it to do then is because it's taking into account all of the layers when it does the fill, and I don't want it to do that. I just want to have the fill set to only fill the current layer that's selected, which is this one down here, layer 3, but because we've got a selection around it, it won't fill outside of that. And there you go. So a few different options there, but we'll just switch that off and put the original one back on, get rid of our selection. And I'm just going to select the right layer. There you go. Now what I could do, I could add some variation to the colours. So I'm sort of using I'm holding down Alt key here, which allows me to pick that colour. I can then take a shade lighter, give it a bit of fill, do the same with this one, but I'll take it shade darker, and that's just to give some variation in the colour of the stones. Something else I like to do is add some bits of texture, which I'll do. Now at this point I'm not highlighting or creating shadow, I'm just creating variation in the colouring of the stones. I'm just going to select again the outside of this and invert it, and then jump back to our colour, and I just want to get a bit of a wet blender and blend these colours that I've added in. Just takes out the kind of sharpness, some of the colour change. Okay, when we were talking about colour variation, I can use a texture tool. I've got some here that are quite good. This one, for example, just reduce the size of it, and just choose a darker colour to maybe a bit of a lighter colour as well. And we'll go for some snow particle effect, and that's good for stone textures. Just really makes them work. Okay, now this is my little trick. So I'll just leave that selection on for the moment, it's not going to hurt. I'm going to create another 2 layers. We'll call this one highlight. We'll call this one shade. I'm setting the highlight layer to an overlay layer, and I'm setting the shade layer to a multiply layer, and then I'm reducing the opacity down to about 50% for both layers. I'm then going to, on the highlight layer, select the colour white. It's 50% opaque and it's overlaying, and then assuming that the light's always coming from the same direction, which is the top right, I'm going to add on where some light would catch. Now you can go in and add extra bits of detail here if you want. And that just kind of adds a bit of believability to it. I'm going to go switch the shade layer, select the black colour, and do exactly the same thing, but I'm going to do it where we've got shaded areas. And then I'm going to pick out areas where I want a bit more shade accented in there. I prefer to do this manually. You could apply layer effects to the stone colour and make it sort of pop up and adjust where the light and shade are coming from. But my style's more sort of hand drawn and less computer generated, if you like. So it's just the way that I choose to do things. So you can see from that you've got a nice little selection of stones for your well, and when you put this on a darker background colour, you could add shadow if this was on the floor, you could add shadow to that. Let's just do that relatively quickly. Let's add a gradient layer. So I'm switching to shade again, and I'll make the colour black, and that might have a bit of shade there. It's casting a shadow onto the brick, the stone. So there you go. Rough and ready, but you get the general idea. Stones. Okay, thanks for watching.